Okay, let's begin our discussions now. I have in the studio James Apietu-Ankra, a former member of parliament for Lower West Achim, and thanks for joining me. It's in the Eastern region, Lower West Achim, currently occupied by Gifty Clare now, I believe.
Well, after the primary, she's also off.
Oh, yeah, she's off. I say occupying the post.
Currently, yes.
I say currently occupying.
Oh, okay.
After the post. Okay. You've already moved there. Oh, James Apietu-Ankra. And he's joined by Dr. Mambwa Roxon. He's a political scientist, and thanks for joining me, Dr. Roxon.
Thank
all right. You. And I'll call you after for us to book a date for something.
Okay.
All right. This is what I have to run by you. Too often, home buyers in Accra face the need to compromise when buying a property. Indeed, many of us do. And because we're forced by market dynamics and unreliable suppliers to sacrifice either location or quality in order to purchase a property they can afford. And this is the good news. Clifton Home Properties present buyers with the opportunity to own a stylish, high-quality home in a central location, all at competitive prices. Market-leading payment plans are also available, starting from only 10% down payment. And Clifton Homes trains their teams to care about the details for you, the client, which has led to a track record of seller development and an impressive record of repeat buyers and referrals. Clifton Homes has launched 6 developments in Accra since the year 2011, and 5 of which already have been completed and been occupied, with their 6th development property being under construction and expected to be completed next year in 2016. For more information, please make sure you visit their site, and the site's address is www.cliftongana.com. You can also give their sales team a call through the number 020-467-7033, or you can visit the offices at 34 Century Street, Airport Residential Area here in Accra, the Plush Airport Residential Area. Now let's begin our discussions, and Dr. Mambwa Roxon and James Apietu-Ankra. We know what's happening around. Government is not able to resolve the dispute they have with striking doctors. And now we're told that even pharmacists have even joined the fray alongside some psychiatric nurses. Is it because of government's incompetence, or just because the health workers are also demanding too much? I'll start with you, Dr. Mambwa Roxon.
Yes,
what's your take on this?
Yeah, good morning to your viewers. In fact, my take on this is that I think it's time that the government takes a bold step to avert future strikes. This is it's coming to an election year, and as the president said, towards elections, various groups are demanding so much from government, which is absurd. In fact, if you look at the medical, the health workers, the doctors, some of their demands are just outrageous. And for the first time, a government is listening to them.
So what are they demanding for? A half gallon of beer, 100 gallons of this and that?
No, they are demanding so much.
50% of the allowances of salaries and 30% of the 40% of salary. Nothing wrong. It's normal.
No. It's not normal, because how many workers in this country? How many critical? They are not the only critical workers. When you talk about the categories of workers we have in this country.
The critical one.
Yeah, the critical one.
They are about the most critical.
Well, yes, to a certain extent, because we are all dependent on each other, right? Just as we want them to treat us, they are also demanding.
But some are more dependent on each other.
They are also demanding like to do their jobs. Without electricity, most of them cannot do their jobs. So the electrical workers are also very important. But let me make this point very clear today, that it is time that Ghanaians or workers, the medical, especially the health workers, sit down and think back. This is the first time a government is listening to them. Since Nkrumah's time, they've never had conditions of service, okay? But the government of the day is trying to put together a condition for them. But they are not patient, and that is my worry about it. That is my worry. And another issue that I want to state is that it is time that the government resort to allowing every degree in this country to go to medical school, just like what applies in America and other places.
I don't get you.
The reason
everybody
is
who gets
in
the
Ghana,
the best passes in the sciences,
no,
you just
and
made
that
to
is
go get a
wrong.
medical
And
degree?
that is wrong. And that is wrong. That is wrong. That is the wrong policy we have adopted. Meaning
What
that
we're doing
if you have nine ones, you are
9
allowed
A's.
to go 9 A's or 9 ones as the system was in before. You were allowed to go and do medicine. That does not translate to you being a good doctor. Out of the 100 that would go, probably 50 were meant to be doctors. The other 50 were not meant to be doctors. But the system allowed all to go and do medicine. It is time that we change from that system, where we allow all degrees, all manner of degrees, to go as a second degree to do medicine.
So you're saying that we are our own enemies because of the policies
yes, we are
have
our own
all
enemies.
introduced.
And that is why go to the university and go to the university, you have medical students. Their rooms are different from other students. Why? Because they are paid special. Yes.
Well, they are special.
They are special. No, they are
medical
not.
doctor
They
is
are not. They are just like engineers and other places.
No, the medical doctor is
no,
not
no,
you.
no, no, no,
You're
no,
not
no.
a medical doctor.
They are not. I am not a medical doctor. But let me tell you, I'm also very important to the system. We are all connected. Just like your fingers. You cannot take your fingers and say these 5 fingers, the thumb is better than the index finger. You cannot say that. They are all lifting. They all help to lift this cup up if you want to take a drink from it. So we are all important and we are all dependent on each other. So medical doctors should be careful the way they are demanding and pressing the government. This is the first time this government is trying to help them. Since Nkrumah time, they've never had conditions of service. And some of them even have been promised up to August the 6th. And some of them are embarking on strike today. I'm talking of the pharmacists. So what do you want government to do? We are very lucky that the minister responsible for these things is an experienced minister. And that is Honorable Haruna Iddrisu. What do they want government to do? And they know what is happening. It's not that they are a minor group in terms of intelligence. They are one of the intelligent groups in the country. That they understand what is happening to the economy. And they must be patient and negotiate with government to arrive at what they want. Nobody is denying them of their rights. But this is the first time a government is listening to them. And so they shouldn't take the public to ransom. You see? And that is my argument this morning.
I have heard consistently the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Haruna Iddrisu, in a very somber tone, really appealed to the medical doctors. I would say appealing to the conscience of the medical doctors to go back to work. Many labour consultants or experts have described the strike as illegal, but I also know, sitting from here, that the Ghana Medical Association and its membership had consistently given the indication over time that if their conditions of service were not met based on what they were negotiating on, and the government did not respond to them, they will strike at so and so time on so and so date. Couldn't we have prevented this?
Thank you very much, and good morning to our viewers. I would start from where Dr. Mabua ended by saying that nobody forced the government to put certain category of professionals as essential services.
No, it's in the labor law. It's the labor law that stipulates that. So I don't think that we can't categorize that and say it's the government that did that categorically.
No, that's what, but the labor law is a government law. And that's what I mean, that it's not the medical officer who are saying we are special, but that is being accepted that they are, they fall into that category. So that's one is it. Then having said it's coming back to what we say, I think that there has been some failure in government communication.
I don't get you.
Why has government waited, the Minister for Labour and Employment, waited until now that they are issuing out and telling, us what it is that has gone on? Because like you rightly said, the doctors kept saying, the Medical Association, we will do this at such a time. If at such a time this doesn't happen, we will do this.
Well, all the time they were in talks. The point is that whatever government was proposing did not meet the expectations, which many have said, indeed, are high expectations that the medical doctors are expecting of government?
No, they had always said that these are proposals. And in fact, I've heard one of the executives saying that they had given in to some of the things that they had submitted. Right?
Their proposals, their demands are proposals. They are indeed very steep proposals, don't you think?
It doesn't matter. Incidentally, because of where I started work from, I had been a union secretary before for SIC, a junior staff, before I rose up and went all this. So you don't go to a negotiation table and start with what you actually think should be the case. You go up.
Just like the way you treat prices on the markets.
Absolutely. Then the employer will say, look, because of this, look at our accounts, what we've done, what the appropriate, what these are issues, these are the constraints. And at any rate, I have always considered, and like former managing director used to say, look, don't forget I'm also an employee. So in fact, the truth of the matter is that even the government, the ministers and all, are all employees of the corporate Ghana. And therefore, if they put the situation that way and they say, look, because of this and this and that, even though you are saying you want 100%, it can't be done. It is as usual, we cannot do it. It is this and this and this that we are able to do. So instead of putting up their proposals, you would rather have brought what you have been able to negotiate or what you are prepared to do. Otherwise, it seemed that you were pitching, especially the government communicators, were pitching the citizens against the doctors. And that can be very dangerous. That can be very dangerous because these doctors also have families and other people. So what you do is to come with what you are doing, because you are doing it in the interest of the citizens. That look, they're asking for 40% housing. Right.
Okay. So far, I haven't seen you respond to this. What do you make of the demands of the doctor? Because as far as I know, and from all the snippets of information I've seen on social media and broadly also reported in the mainstream media, they are making certain demands that many people think are outrageous. What do you make of it? From my experience,
that's what I'm saying now. You go to negotiation table with a proposal. I'm told that in South Africa, they even call it demand. What the unions or employees send, they term it demand. But it doesn't mean that it's supposed to be taken on by the employer. It's for negotiation. So I don't see a big deal about it, that those figures are outrageous. Yes, they are outrageous, but we are not going to accept it. They want to negotiate because you don't expect
precisely the reason why they're on strike. Government says that they're not going to accept the proposals, as you call them. And precisely why the doctors are on strike. They said that you're not meeting us. Government says meet us halfway. They say they don't want to meet you halfway. They want to move you above the halfway line. Anyway, Dr. Mambo Rockson, yes. What should we be doing right now for a government that needs to make sure that its citizens and the citizenry's health are in good stead? Then you need to make sure that some of these things are prevented, whether the workers concerned are categorized as essential or not.
I think the strike by the Ghana Medical Association and other related health workers sends a message to the government that it is time for government to sit down and review some of these categories of workers, not just in the medical field, but in other critical areas. Because the labor law actually frowns on strikes by these people.
It does?
It does.
The labor law does?
It does frowns on them going on strike. Take it, for example, if the police should go on strike. Take it, for example, if the military were to go on strike. These are categories of essential. Yeah, these are essential categories of workers. They are not, the doctors are not important than the military. They are not important than the police. Because without the police and the military, the doctors will run out of their houses. Forget about the medicine. They will all run into the bush if the soldiers and the police are all on strike. Because do you think the police are happy of their services? Do you think the military, they're happy of their services? But because of the labor law, which frowns on them going on strike, they are being told that they cannot go on strike. So the doctors need to open their ears and also listen that they are not supposed to go on strike. Because the police tomorrow will go on strike, and then they'll see whether they can stay in their homes. Government is always the godfather, whether they like it or not. And when you are confronted with a problem with the godfather, which is the government, you need to negotiate with caution. You need to negotiate with respect. You see? And that is why the military and the police and the fire service and the prison service officers are all quiet. These are essential workers too. And if the prisons were to release all the prisoners and say we all not satisfied, prison officers, some of them, they have no accommodation. They have problems. And government is trying to resolve that. Have they gone on strike, the prison officers? No. Are they not human beings? They are also essential category that we need to respect. So, and they are not demanding uniform allowance. They are not demanding petrol to go to work. Some of them don't even need petrol because they are housed within the hospital compound. So why are they not looking at the specifics, but they are looking at the general in terms of their demands? And so government needs to take another look at this so that, like I said earlier on, to allow every degree in Ghana to go as a second degree to medical school.
Because it's
like
done
what
in
is
other
done,
countries.
yes.
Yeah.
So that if you did zoology, forestry, accounting, and all of a sudden...
Once you can read medicine.
Once you can read medicine.
Once you can read medicine,
yes, you go for it. Because some did not do science in secondary school and in the university because they were not admitted to those programs. But they actually had the skills to do medicine. And so if
not
they
because
are
they were afraid to do science.
Not be afraid. No. And so they should be allowed.
You did science?
I did physics, chemistry.
Okay, and you ended up an insurance person.
Exactly.
Well,
so
I get your point, though, but it's not. You can't equate it to the same. But I've heard some rhetorics, Mr. Apietu-Ankra. I've heard some rhetorics, especially from one Dr. Serebo as well, in response to, I guess, a panelist on a radio station, just because of the content of what was coming out from the communication from the panelists. And you get to see that there was a banter. At the end of the day, the content from Dr. Serebo was that, well, I had gone to medical school, and it's also because I was among the brightest. I mean, that is my analysis of what he said. At the end of the day, how do we, in the medium to long term, try to resolve this? Look, I've reported widely for 15 years. Right. And I've gone out consistently with the Cuban Brigade medical doctors to rural communities in our country. Some of them don't have money that our medical doctors have in their country. I think they are one of the poorest medical doctors we have in the world, but they are some of the best medical doctors we have in the world. So at what point do we have to say we need to demystify whatever it is that leads to the training of medical doctors so that we can breach the ratio of the doctor per patient ratio?
In a private discussion with doctor, I said, look, I think that it's a question of a supply and demand.
So they're taking advantage of their numbers?
Absolutely. So that I have seen people who could not get into a medical school go to China, go to Ukraine, wherever. Russia.
I'll give you the names, a lot of names. The Balkan states, they are there.
They are there. So why are we making, a fuss? For a very long time, it was only University of Ghana that had medical school. We got Tech. Now Cape Coast has come on board. UDS is also. Yeah. So we should allow this to happen. And we're making, so much, fetish about, doing medicine, which in actual fact is now been worldwide, that it's a normal
now
science.
It's been demystified. There's nothing. You just have to be committed to your job and know that you have the intellect to do this.
Absolutely. So I think that it's a question of demand.
So you're saying they are not the privileged few, but it's because the system makes them feel like they're the privileged few.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But I think that how do we make sure that the current impasse is resolved? Because now the other health professionals have seen that, well, government stalls, so we too want to take advantage. We have the pharmacists joining, we're told, according to the report we're having, and also even some sections of nurses joining.
I think that we should take this thing out of the realm of radio and
TV.
The media.
The
media, the communicators are getting into this kind of banter. I don't think it will help matters, because these are our own kith and kins. And if he sat down with them and let them appreciate where we are and what, especially with what is happening with their patients. I'm sure a good reason will.
Okay.
Yeah,
the other thing is, while you agree with him, the other thing is, we have a certain food in the basket, and the food can only take care of so much. Unless we want to say the medical doctors already are some of the poorest paid categories of essential workers we have in our country. We have what we have in the buckets is what we have. I mean, we can do the argument about what is given to Article 71 office holders and things like that. But at the end of the day, the 700,000 people for which the medical doctors also fall also have to share just the same cake. So is that a good argument when you're negotiating with such people when we know that there's a huge standoff?
Yes, I think it's a good argument to be put up by government. And that's why I started earlier on by saying that doctors are of a high intellect and they understand what is happening in the economy. They are not like the other,
like the ordinary man on the street, who perhaps doesn't have the best literacy levels.
Exactly. They understand what is happening. They read economics, they read all these things. They understand that the country is in distress at this moment. Look at the projects, infrastructure projects the government is constructing, and look at the way that we are in a structured World Bank program that needs to be guided carefully. How can government add more expenses? And by the way, I forgot to say that all these things, like the pharmacist demands, all these things have been brought about by the introduction of the single spine. And that has complicated a lot of things, brought so much expenses onto government. And you will want to know, people want to know, or people should understand that 70% of the government budget goes to payment of just salary.
Why should that be the concern of medical doctors?
No.
When they know that they also need to get their due.
No, that should be a concern to them. And that what is the finance ministry doing to actually mitigate these things over time? You see, and this should be part of their concern when they sit on the table to negotiate with government. So that at the end, what is most critical is the love of their job. For example, some people work because of the love of their job. Some nurses, some critical workers, even if there are strikes, they still go to work because they love their jobs. And I'm appealing to the medical doctors that the Honorable Minister, Haruna Iddrisu, has spoken to them humbly to return to work, and that all of them should return to work in view of the circumstances. I mean, they should look at what is happening in Ghana today. We are faced with energy crisis, and if we are faced with health crisis, then where are we heading to? Then, after all, at the end, if they are given this money, can they come out and raise their heads to look at Ghanaians that they are actually medical doctors who are taking care of us? They cannot do so. So I'm appealing to them to come out and go to work and deliver, just like all other critical sections are going to work and delivering, example, the police and the military.
Okay, we have to wrap up the discussion on this. But one aspect that has perhaps polluted the whole argument and not put government in a positive stead is the aspect about the packages that are given to the Article 71 office holders. How does that play in all this? Because sometimes we're all living witnesses. You see individuals, they get into government, and you see that their lives have improved. How does that perhaps pollute the minds of the doctors in trying to see reason that we're in a certain aspect of life where finances are not good?
So, okay, thank you. That's
because you've been in that category before.
So I would wish that the minister also sends out, some advice to government communications and politicians to completely stay out, because it could be a little bit irritating if you know some of them, the way their behavior, the politicians, the way they carry themselves out. Then you start asking yourself, why should I back out? Because if such a person, he says he's a presidential staffer, he has a Land Cruiser, he also has fuel, he has all that he does is to go on TV, radio, and from
that's not only what they do. I mean, it's just part of the advocacy.
No, I understand. I understand. Then when there's some kind of impasse over this thing, then you see somewhere in Lambas, you know, that they could only be stoking the fire instead of, you know. So the best thing for me is that as for Article 71, it is come to stay. But we just need to appeal to the doctors, like Dr. Mabwa said, to see and make sure that we don't completely collapse the economy because we want our pound of flesh. But meanwhile, the advice should also go to the other side too, that please stay out, leave the matter with me. I'm the minister, I'm in control, I'll deal with it. You know. So that's my take.
I think the minister has sincerely appealed to them. From his heart, he's telling them that government is taking a serious look at their issues and that they should return to work. And for me, I think it is time for them to also look at the love of their job. Were they actually trained to become medical doctors? They should look at themselves. If yes.
But that alone won't cut.
No, that cuts. That is very important.
Dr. Mambwa, that alone won't cut.
That is very important.
All right. So we have had in the studio, we have to end the discussion this morning. We have to do entertainment next. Entertainment will be brought to you by Gladys Oredo, looking beautiful as always, putting on her earring. Okay, she's getting ready. She'll be mic'd very soon. She'll be here. But let me just wrap up with, just give you a summary of who my guests have been this morning. Dr. Mambwa Rockson is a political scientist joining us this morning. We're grateful to you, sir. Every week you make time for us.
Thank you.
I loved your contribution today.
Thank you very much.
I hope that we can't demystify the thing about medicine.
No.
It makes some of us look as if we're not intelligent while in school. Anyway, but also, thanks for joining me, James Apietuankra, Article 71 office holder, former. And you're former member of Parliament for Lower West Achim. And thanks for joining me, sir. All right.